Since the dawn of time, humans have been irresistibly drawn to caves, natural shelters in harsh landscapes, places of final rest, sites of sacred rituals, and canvases where history was etched in stone. Across the world, caves have revealed secrets of ancient lives. Yet in England, one hidden cavern has mystified all who've encountered it: Royston Cave, a discovery that has captivated imaginations for nearly 3 centuries. Royston, a modest town in Hertfordshire, lies at the crossroads of 2 ancient roads, Ickenold Way and Ermine Street. Once a thriving medieval trade hub under King Richard I, it eventually faded into obscurity, until fate intervened in 1742. During renovations of the butter market, workers uncovered a large round stone, assumed to be an ordinary millstone. Beneath it lay a dark shaft plunging deep into the ground, initially dismissed as an old well. Further inspection revealed something far more curious: small footholds carved into the wall, forming a crude staircase.
As a structural engineer, I must say, carving a subterranean chamber into soft chalk and maintaining its stability for centuries is nothing short of astonishing. There are no signs of major collapse, which suggests the builders understood the geological behavior of Royston's chalk strata exceptionally well.
James Alderton, structural geotechnical engineer.
When the cave was fully cleared, everyone present was stunned. The entire interior was covered in mysterious carvings, scenes of torture, religious symbols, geometric patterns, knights, crosses, and faceless figures, some symbols repeated, appearing to follow a deliberate sequence, leading later scholars to suspect the chamber was a site of secret rituals.
Most people don't realize it, but the cave's ceiling height, the incline of the footholds, and the spatial symmetry are extraordinarily well proportioned. This wasn't an improvised refuge, it was a pre-designed underground structure, possibly modeled above ground before construction began.
Clara Ewan, subterranean architecture specialist.
Townsfolk began whispering of strange sounds on moonlit nights, faint voices in unknown tongues, murmurs like prayer, and stone scraping against stone, even though no one dared descend. Again, the most compelling and controversial theory is that the chamber once belonged to the Knights Templar, hiding during their persecution in the 14th century. The carvings closely resemble the iconography associated with the order, and Royston's strategic location at the junction of 2 ancient routes would have made it an ideal clandestine meeting point. To this day, no one knows for sure who carved the cave, why it was built, or why it was carefully buried under a bustling marketplace. One thing is certain: after 1742, Royston would never be called ordinary again. Beneath the quiet surface of Royston lies a hidden chapel, carved entirely into soft chalk bedrock, an extraordinary feat, still unmatched today. Royston Cave takes the form of an inverted bell, approximately 8 meters deep and over 5 meters wide, with a vertical shaft that seems to lead straight into the Earth's core. At its base lies an octagonal stone platform, believed by scholars to be a kneeling station for prayer, or perhaps the focal point of an esoteric ritual. A secondary shaft, lined with limestone bricks, runs vertically from the chamber. Its purpose remains unclear, but some experts believe it once served as a ventilation chimney for candles or oil lamps, suggesting the chamber was once intentionally illuminated, possibly for nighttime ceremonies conducted in secrecy. Wooden post holes carved into the walls indicate that wooden platforms or altar structures may once have existed inside a raised pulpit, a sacred stage, or even a suspended mezzanine. But the true marvel lies not in the architecture. The walls of the chamber read like a stone-bound Bible, engraved with hundreds of intricate carvings, believed to date back to the 14th or 15th century, and unlike anything else in Britain.
The resurrection of Christ, delicately edged, with hollowed eyes and flowing robes. Jesus is shown between 2 angels, raising one hand in benediction, gives a striking detail. The stigmata on his hand becomes visible only when light hits the wall from a 45-degree angle, a possible indication of intentional religious symbolism. God's hand releasing a dove, a universal symbol of peace. Or perhaps a metaphor for the soul being set free. Interpretations vary. Divine blessing or ominous prophecy? Saint Catherine on the spiked wheel, the famed symbol of martyrdom and endurance, stands beside a man in shackles, possibly representing a heretic or condemned figure. A depiction of Richard the Lionheart, shonen, a knight's robe with his sword lowered, as if standing guard over the sacred site. A particularly enigmatic figure, a man in a hood holding a broken cross, believed by some to represent Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, burned at the stake in 1314, gives if accurate. This carving would be sensational evidence of Templar reverence for de Molay, and suggests the cave was a secret shrine to his memory.
When lit by flickering candlelight, the cave becomes a resurrected chapel from the medieval twilight. Shadows dance across the carved walls, and the figures appear to move, their hollow eyes and solemn expressions watching in silence, as though the past whispers through stone. Several visitors have described a spinting-like sensation when alone inside, particularly under the gaze of the deeper carvings, their empty eyes seeming to follow your every step. Could this have been a clandestine chapel for fleeing Templars escaping persecution, a space used for baptisms or sacred anointing in secret, or even a chamber of spiritual containment, as suggested by local folklore? Whatever its origin, Royston Cave is not merely an archaeological site, it is a stone scripture, a sacred chamber preserving a time when faith, fear, and loyalty were carved not into books, but into the bedrock of the earth. As soon as Royston Cave emerged from centuries of concealment, theories ignited like wildfire. Was it a sacred refuge, a prison of conscience, or the final sanctuary of a forgotten soul? Whispers of the Knights Templar were the first to echo through the cave's narrow shaft. After all, the famed warrior monks had operated just a few miles away, in Baldequan, of their documented English strongholds. The wall carvings in Royston crosses, robed figures, and a lone knight-like face with solemn eyes seemed eerily similar to iconography found at Templar sites in France and Portugal. "It feels consecrated," murmured one early visitor, standing under the image of a cross carved with unnerving precision, like they buried their truth in the earth and left it to time. But modern scholars caution against romantic fantasy. Despite visual parallels, no definitive evidence connects the Templars to Royston Cave. In fact, stylistic elements in the carvings suggest a late 15th century origin, a good 100 years after the Templars were officially disbanded. In 2020, archaeologist Keith Fitzpatrick Matthews proposed a more grounded but no less evocative theory. The cave had once been the private sanctuary of a religious hermit, carved between 1480 and 1500. The supporting evidence is compelling. The amateur yet fervent religious carvings suggest the hand of a devoted but untrained artisan. Parish records mention a hermit in Royston who died in 1506, likely the same man who chiseled his faith into the chalk walls. By 1540, a local hermitage was sold to a private buyer who, by 1550, had constructed a prison building directly above the cave. Thus, the cave may have undergone a haunting evolution, from a space of solitude and worship to a chamber of punishment and silence. The physical evidence deepens the mystery. A brown-spotted slipware cup, popular in the 16th and 17th centuries, was discovered within the chamber alongside a pipe-clay devotional object, both pointing to extended use well after the supposed hermit's death. These objects, coupled with soot deposits and wall blackening, suggest that the cave remained in use perhaps even as a hidden chapel for forbidden Catholic rites until the Elizabethan or early Stuart era, when religious persecution led to the suppression of overt Catholic imagery in Protestant England. "Maybe they sealed it," said one local, "not to hide the place but to protect what it meant." Royston Cave is not just a cavity beneath a marketplace. It is a layered manuscript of human belief, fear, adaptation, and resilience. Whether carved by knights, hermits, or prisoners, its walls have absorbed centuries of silence, light, soot, and faith. Perhaps the cave's greatest mystery is not who made it, or why but how it continues to speak to us, without saying a single word. Beneath the cobbled surface of Royston's town square lies a secret that has endured fire, faith, persecution, and time itself. But now, in the modern era, its greatest enemy is water. Royston Cave, this bell-shaped chamber carved in chalk, once perhaps a sanctuary for monks or prisoners of faith, is now a Grade I listed monument, officially protected yet desperately vulnerable. Its chalk walls, though once strong enough to bear sacred carvings, are soft, porous, and crumbling under the weight of centuries. The threat is not dramatic, not fire or vandalism, but relentless rain, seeping through the earth in thin, invisible veins. That moisture, cold and persistent, cracks the chalk, softens it, and invites an entire silent ecosystem to invade. Through those cracks creep worms, which tunnel through the carvings like blind scribes rewriting sacred history. Then come the microbes, awakened by moisture and darkness, spores that bloom silently on the sacred walls. Fungal gnats breed in the soil below, and their larvae crawl upward, feasting slowly on the past. The carvings, once crisp and reverent, depictions of saints, martyrs, and lost kings, are beginning to blur at the edges, as though the stone itself is forgetting. Every time it rains, said one conservator, the cave loses a piece of its memory. But the defenders of Royston Cave fight back not with hammers or walls, but with whispers and precision. Soil is carefully removed to deter earthworms from invading further. UV biocidal lighting, tuned to the gentlest settings, pulses quietly in the darkness, killing microbial growth without scarring the stone. Tiny insect traps, nearly invisible, hang like charms from conservation wires, catching fungus gnats before their offspring can take hold. Even light itself is rationed. Artificial illumination is tied to motion sensors and timers, casting the cave in brief, holy glows, as if it still resists the gaze of the outside world. And to protect the fragile equilibrium inside, visitor access is strictly limited. The cave opens only on weekends, from April to September, and even then only in carefully controlled conditions to maintain the cave's internal climate. Royston Cave's chalk walls are calcium carbonate, highly reactive to moisture and pH changes. Unlike granite or sandstone, chalk is a biogenic sedimentary rock, meaning it contains organic remnants that can host microbial life when reactivated by water. This requires not only passive conservation techniques, but also real-time environmental monitoring. Temperature and humidity sensors now feed data to off-site servers that alert staff if microconditions spike, allowing for early intervention before irreversible damage occurs. This has led to innovations like UVC-timed cycles, non-intrusive airflow redirection, and experiments with electrostatic netting to repel airborne spores, all designed to extend the cave's life without accelerating its decay. In an age of noise and spectacle, Royston Cave reminds us that some battles are won quietly, with restraint, with reverence, with science so gentle it leaves no trace. We cannot rebuild what the past has given us here. We can only buy time, a few more years, a few more seasons, for future generations to descend that narrow shaft and feel the hush of centuries settle on their skin. It is a war fought with data loggers and patience, a sacred war, and the stone, though fading, still holds its breath. Have you ever walked through an ordinary town square, completely unaware of the secret hidden just beneath your feet? In the quiet English town of Royston, a group of workers were digging to make way for construction, when one of their shovels struck something unexpected. What they uncovered was not treasure, not gold, not jewels, but it was priceless. They had discovered Royston Cave. A man-made, bell-shaped chamber carved deep into the chalk below the street. No doors, no windows, no records of its creation. And inside, walls covered in strange carvings, figures, symbols, crosses, some delicate and intricate, others crude, as if scratched in desperation. Who made this place? Why was it hidden for centuries? And what purpose did it serve? Some believe it was a secret temple of the Knights Templar, a legendary order wrapped in myth and secrecy. Others think it was a hermit's prayer chamber, or perhaps a secret jail. Each theory brings new questions, new possibilities, but never any certainty. If these walls could speak, what would they reveal? Might they whisper of lost rituals, concealed faith, or final prayers of someone left alone in darkness? Royston Cave holds no gold, no gemstones, but still, it is a treasure, carved not just into the earth, but into the imagination. And maybe, just maybe, some mysteries are more precious when left unsolved. If you enjoyed uncovering this hidden chapter of history, hit like, subscribe, and let us know what you think Royston Cave was for. Let's explore the mystery together.